The original Ben 10 show premiered 6 months after I was born, so when I say this has been a lifelong fixation for me, I mean it. I cannot remember a time in my life where I wasn't a Ben 10 fan. My mom loves to tell the story of when I was 2 years old and how I would close my eyes and climb on furniture growling, pretending to be my favorite alien, Wildmutt. So suffice to say, I was really excited when, after years of no new Ben 10 media, a comic book was announced for 2026 promising a fresh take on the story written by one of the show's original creators. However, after reading the first issue, I felt conflicted. I never want to dislike an adaptation just because it's different, but this wasn't exactly the Ben 10 fix I was looking for. Something just felt off, and I couldn't quite put it into words, so I decided to investigate by rewatching the first episode of the original show. The episode starts with 3 scenes that are cut out from the comic almost entirely. The first is a big space battle between 2 spaceships, which establishes 4 things. 1, this is a sci-fi show. 2, our villain, Vilgax. 3, the mysterious MacGuffin that is sent to Earth. And 4, the villain, Vilgax, gets injured in an explosion. This is the only scene where there is some counterpart in the comic, with the first page being Vilgax monologuing into space, seemingly to nobody, about this mysterious weapon, the only thing that could possibly stop his rule over the galaxy. No Vilgax not being injured here, I'll loop back to that. Immediately, the show then cuts to Earth as we're introduced to Ben mentally counting down the seconds until school's out while also playing a prank on his teacher. It's important that we're introduced to Ben as immature here because it really heightens the irony that he is about to be wrapped up into a cosmic war. Then, what I consider to be the most important scene in the first episode, Ben sees somebody getting bullied and immediately stands up for them, only for both Ben and the kid he was trying to protect to be humiliated instantly. Ben 10 the show is about a kid with a strong sense of justice and morals, but without the power to back it up, because he's 10. What does this optimistic, bordering on naive child do with the strongest weapon in the galaxy? Ben 10 the comic is not about this, and I'm honestly not sure what it is about. The closest thing to that scene in the comic of establishing Ben's core character and conflict is the reveal that he was sent on the infamous summer road trip that facilitates the whole story because his parents just wanted to get rid of him for the summer. Ben is a very troubled child. In fact, a few times we can see him talk to himself in a very concerning way. He specifically mentions his childhood as if it's something that is already long gone, which in the context of the show would be him wanting to grow up faster, him wanting to be powerful to protect people. But in the context of the comic, it feels like a child who was forced to grow up too fast. So far, the entire comic has been just putting this 10-year-old in a torture chamber where he is always on the run, on the defensive, trying to hide from the entire military, which is hunting him down for some reason. And then finally, in issue number 3, when he has a chance to step up and be a hero, he's extremely reluctant to do so. He watches people die in gruesome fashion and just goes, "Looks pretty bad out there." And it's only after he's yelled at by his cousin Gwen to help that he goes, "I guess it's better than doing nothing?" Oh my god, this kid needs therapy. Ben is nihilistic here and not at all the heroic type that he is in the show. So we have to ask, if it's not a power fantasy, what does the Omnitrix mean here? How does the story of Ben 10 lend itself to a story about a child of neglect? There's 2 interpretations in my mind, and I'm going to start with the really pessimistic one. This is dark just for the sake of it. The Omnitrix itself is a really good example of what I'm trying to get at here, because I think the comic is attempting to go for a body horror angle. Which makes sense. Ben 10 in theory lends itself to body horror really well. The idea of transforming into something else, your body destroyed and reconstructed over and over again, is inherently body horror. But there is an actual consequence to these decisions. Ben's actions don't change based on what the Omnitrix does to him. If it's actually hurting him, I would think he would be less willing to change into aliens. Truthfully, it's not what I would call actual body horror. It's gesturing at body horror, but it hasn't actually reached that yet. Good body horror boils down to 2 things, in my opinion: the loss of autonomy and the loss of identity, which Ben 10 actually has precedence for to draw from. A few examples: in the original show, it's revealed that the alien Ghost Freak actually retained their personality and takes control of Ben's body. In Alien Force, Ben has an alien Big Chill that becomes pregnant. No, I won't clarify because the show doesn't. And part of its pregnancy cycle is it eating scrap metal, so it takes over Ben's body every time he goes to sleep. Also in Alien Force, Ben gets an alien, Wrath, whose species is hyper-aggressive. So Ben acts like a completely different person because his brain chemistry fundamentally changes. That's a really cool idea to explore when somebody is transforming into alien life forms. There's even a small example of this in the comic itself, where when Ben transforms into Diamond Head, he acts very vain and starts showboating, something that's very out of character. However, this example is an outlier. Every other alien, it is made very clear that Ben is in complete control. Also want to quickly mention that pretty much everything I'm going to criticize this comic for is done really well in a fan comic, Zilutrix, I think it's pronounced. Instead of aliens, it's demons, and it's like the 7 deadly sins instead of 10 aliens, and Ben has to like combat those sins, and they all have their own personalities. It's fantastic. Please go read it. It's on Webtoon Canvas or on the artist's Instagram, Darren_Z. Now, I don't want to be super negative in this video. I want everything I say to be constructive criticism of where I hope the comic goes moving forward, but I really don't like these starting 10 aliens. It uses the Ben 10 Reboots playlist, which specifically removes Ghost Freak, the one with their own personality and the ability to pass through walls, Ripjaws, which is adapted to surviving specifically in water and can't survive for long on land, and Wild Mutt, who is a blind dog that uses radar sense to see. All 3 of those are specifically very alien concepts that the idea of transforming into those things is terrifying. I am no longer 2 years old. The idea of being a dog who can't talk is scary to me. I like talking. The Ben 10 Reboot playlist is all humanoids, with some aliens specifically redesigned to be more humanoid than they were before, which is just less interesting and not fully using the concept of somebody turning into aliens. Luckily, the comic then redesigned some of the aliens to be less humanoid, but then you have weird examples like Wildvine, which is stuck in this just in between, where it takes some elements of its original design, but it's still humanoid shaped like its reboot design. So it lost what made the original Wildvine interesting to me still. There are so many aliens to choose from at this point, from 5 different Ben 10 shows. I feel like we could have done something more interesting with the 10 we start with. Okay, just my pitch, me spitballing here, but Forearms, that could have been Wrath, fan favorite, and like I said before, plays into that body horror angle more. Then Heat Blast, which is used as like Ben can't control his power, that could have been, I mean, it works well enough already, so we don't really need to change it, but for my example, let's go something crazy, Atomics, make this kid a living Chernobyl. Actually, Energy, that's literally radiation in a suit, Energy. Accelerate and Cannonbolt both fill the mobility category, with Cannonbolt just feeling more alien to me, so let's just replace Accelerate with Ditto, which is an alien that can clone themselves, pushing a loss of identity more. Wildvine can stay. A sentient plant is just a cool concept. Hasn't shown up in the comic yet, but I'm hopeful that they can do something cool with that. Stinkfly can stay. We love a bug guy. Gray Matter is small and smart guy. I guess hypothetically could be replaced with Nanomech, who's even smaller, could push the helplessness of the form more. And plus, we love a bug guy. Diamond Head, Water Hazard, and Upgrade don't really fill any specific roles that I can slot in a different alien to, but just some interesting alternates that I think would have been a more interesting 10 starting aliens. Ripjaws, Ghost Freak, Wild Mutt, it would have been really cool to see any of their inclusion. Chameleon, Lodestar, Jury Rig, all just cool ones, and Feedback. That would have been a great one since there's an actual arc in the show of Ben becoming addicted to that alien and actually losing himself because of it. That would have been great for the body horror angle. And Guy, he's my favorite alien, and he has 2 scenes across like 5 shows, so I would just love more Guy, please. Please give me more Guy. I think the playlist really reveals that despite this comic wanting to shake up the source material, become its own thing, do something radically different, it's too tied down to those original plot beats and isn't willing to stray far enough. The first 3 issues are pretty clearly an adaptation of the first 2 episodes of the show, with a few elements pulled from other places, the pacing of which is just not great though. TV and comics are very different mediums, and trying to stretch the plot of 2 episodes across 3 issues just doesn't work, and honestly really scares me for the comic going forward. Comics need to be a very efficient medium. It is 20 pages once a month. There isn't time for filler, yet some of these pages are so goddamn inefficient with how they deliver information, and it is beyond frustrating. This arc should have been 2 issues, potentially 1, but issue 2 spends almost like half of its entire runtime with Grandpa Max as he talks to the military about nothing, and they just kind of talk in circles around each other because they're keeping secrets, and it's hinting at the secret, which is Max is a secret space agent, which is something that anyone who is reading this comic would already know, because no one is picking up this comic not being a Ben 10 fan. Also, that is like one of the most well-known reveals. I think a lot of people who don't like, honestly, the military's inclusion as a whole feels really weird here, because there's just no real consequence to it. Ben ends up in the exact same place at the end of this 3-issue arc that he does at the end of the 2-episode premiere of the show. It's not shaking up the status quo, it's just different flavoring. Ben runs to the woods for a bit, transforms for the first time. Gwen discovers him and tries to fight him before realizing it's Ben. He fights a robot, and then he turns into Diamond Head and fights a bigger robot. That's an extremely boiled down summary, and the plot beats are kind of mixed up. Instead of a random drone, Ben fights a cyborg bear, which has no connection to any of the factions that we've established. It's not like Vilgax or the military, and it's just a random cyborg bear that Ben calls Freddy Fazbear, which, okay, I found this clip and it is just the funniest. I don't even know how to explain it. Just play it.
Keeps it fresh, absolutely. Well, as the voice of Freddy himself, I would like to thank you personally so much for the nod. As a day one fan of Ben 10, I can't tell you the pride and gratitude I have of something I worked on being acknowledged by an IP so dear to me. So thank you. Yeah, and if your son ever wants a shout out, what's his name?
Max.
Max? Hey there, Max. Way to go, superstar. I hope he gets a kick out of that.
I've looked into Kellen Goff for weeks now, and I'm still not fully sure why he's the one doing this interview, but sick. Also, apparently his performance as the Jaw Titan in Attack on Titan was based on Wildmutt, which is just, that's actually so awesome, and I respect that so much. Okay, back to my point though. The military being there at the end had no consequence on that final fight. Now, it's clear that the comic is trying to set up the military as a recurring antagonist, but I don't think that the comic is willing to peel away enough from that main source material for them to actually be a threat. I don't feel like the stakes are any higher because of their inclusion. The page that establishes them as a future threat is also pretty laughably inefficient. The general looks down at this robot skeleton and goes, "Oh, tonight wasn't a total loss, they left us a little gift." And then there's 2 more panels where he tells his squad to clean up the mess and then says, "Humanity has entered a new era of investigation." Do we need 3 panels hinting at the fact that they're going to use the robot skeleton to advance technology? Like, I got it right away, actually. This alone isn't that big of a deal, but it is an example of just a larger issue. Vilgax's pages are especially egregious, as he always has a single page to himself, but not enough to say to fill a single page, so it's usually stretched out with information repeating itself and him talking in this strange way that's clearly just there to fill space. Vilgax's role as a whole is where I feel like the pacing and the changes, but they aren't actually changes is at its worst. For the first while in the original show, Vilgax is a shadowy antagonist that controls things from behind the scenes while he recovers from his injuries from that explosion I mentioned. When Vilgax finally does show up, it becomes very clear why the show kept him out of commission for so long. He is a massive threat, and it needed a reason for why he didn't just show up immediately and take the Omnitrix before Ben had a chance to learn how to use it. The comic Vilgax sends a mercenary for seemingly laziness because he wasn't in the area. There isn't really a reason why he shouldn't focus all his attention on the Omnitrix. He directly states that it is the strongest weapon in the galaxy and the only thing that could stop him from ruling the universe, which again, he states to no one. It's all very strange in the comic. He can't be there yet, but there isn't an actual reason for him not to be there, so it just comes across like he's kind of stupid and arrogant. Which could work, having his character flaw be arrogance, but it's turned somebody who was a genuinely intimidating force, forcing Ben to use the Omnitrix to its fullest, switching aliens anytime Vilgax adapted, using all of the aliens for their specific strengths, into a bit of a bozo who just mumbles to himself all the time about how cool he is. Alright, I think it's about time for that positive interpretation I mentioned a while back, because despite my many complaints, there is something here. Something that could be good. Ben Tennyson is a 10-year-old boy with the potential to be heroic, but is weighed down by generations of abuse and neglect. In issue number 3, Grandpa Max makes an offhand comment to Gwen about how Ben's lucky he's his only grandson, or else he wouldn't put in so much effort to save him. Now that's clearly a joke, but it's still mean-spirited. Ben 10 Alien Force already laid the groundwork for this theme, with Ben's grandmother returning as her two sons have to wrestle with her neglect of them, only to learn that the only reason she is back is because her granddaughter carries her alien genes. I think I saw someone say that this comic was doing character assassination on Ben's parents by having them be neglectful in this version, which I don't think was a super serious accusation, but it's an interesting idea. Breaking the cycle of abuse is no easy feat, and it can be truly terrifying to think about how small the difference can be between whether or not someone actually is able to escape that cycle. There's another episode of Alien Force which is genuinely one of my favorites, called Grounded, where Ben's parents learn that he's a superhero and ground him. And it's resolved by shifting focus to Ben's dad, and how this whole situation clearly reminds him of his relationship with his father, Grandpa Max, who was a secret space agent, but kept that secret from his own family. The episode ends with Ben's dad deciding not to repeat those patterns that tortured him his entire childhood, to embrace those secrets and not put up walls within his own family. With an alternate universe story like this comic, it's sadly pretty easy to see how Ben just lost that coin flip. His dad just couldn't break out of that cycle. Maybe the Omnitrix isn't a power fantasy anymore, but rather a cautionary tale of how abuse and neglect forces children to change. Ben doesn't transform into these big adult aliens because he wants to be strong and independent, but because he needs to be. He's been forced to grow up too fast. Slimy, creepy, fast and strong, every shape and size, Ben transforms into the positive role models he was supposed to have growing up. These vague misinterpretations of what an adult is supposed to be. The Omnitrix hasn't given him power, it's given him responsibility. Too much responsibility for him to handle at such a young age. I don't know if that's the intended interpretation, and if it is, if the comic will be able to stick the landing, but hey, I still have hope that this comic can pull my interest back in. The next arc is supposed to have the zombie clown Zombozo, so that could be something. I'm not sure what exactly, but I'll keep buying and reading though, because God, I love Ben 10, and aren't we all just monetary slaves to the IPs we loved when we were 8? It's hero time.